dun, dun, dun. What a happy way to start the Blender Conference 2020. Was just a few days ago on Friday. Wasn't it crazy? Wasn't it amazing? How are you? How is everybody? 125 episodes of Blender Today, multiple Blender Conference, but this one was a really special one. Blender Conference took place on Friday. We did it online. We did a live stream here on the channel where I got to interview some of the people at the studio while we were waiting for YouTube to encode the video. But actually, it turned out that it was super nice for other people outside of the conference, like waiting or being at home, that have come to the conference and they're missing that special vibe of being at conference. So I hope we don't have to do this again, but if we ever have to, it would be nice to plan maybe like a 2-hour live stream before and then watch it together. It's been super nice. Should I focus? Alrighty. Gee, picky much. No, I'm kidding. All right, there you go. Yeah, no, maybe. Okay, cool. How's everybody? How are you doing? And you can see that they have a mirror there. Okay, cool. It's been quite a roller coaster of emotions, the Blender Conference. If you haven't watched it already, you should go and check it out. It's right now it's full HD, like full quality. At the moment we couldn't launch with the full quality, but now it is. So if you haven't, go back and check it. And also now there are sections. It's all split in sections, so you can see here on YouTube. You can you can click, jump to the section that you want. It's just amazing the work that people have been doing here. Well, starting with the video of not sure I want to see that. Blender Conference 2020. Look at the logo by Mike Newborn, designer at the Blender Conference at Blender Studio, plus this Apple stylish wannabe drone shot that Sivren took. Super nice. Zooming in. That was tough. It was done this like on Thursday. It was the same day or Wednesday. I don't know. It was really tight. But it turned out great. Rachel was personally one of the videos that I like the most in terms of like all the quality and the mood and getting into the nice, you know, cozy feeling of working from home. That was super nice. And then yeah, you should check it out. I'm not gonna spoil you. You probably watch all the way until the end, so you know you're catch up with everything, all the news and the happy news, luckily. So let's get into what Blender has to offer for this week. Blender updates. I have a list that I have so many topics. There is grease pencil, there is user interface, there is modeling improvements / object modifiers, cycles, sculpting, you name it. Oh, look at that! That's Daniel Weisted. I should leave it on the side and. Anyway, subtitles are also available for the entire. Oh, geez, why I did? Okay, there. Some very sad moments too in the live stream, but very important to share with the community as well. Okay, let's go into the news because otherwise I'm gonna keep going back to watch this video. Super nice. This is what also one of my more favorite part, like Jonathan Williamson from CG Cookie, that we all seen modeling and sculpting stuff, modeling in the past, and now showing a completely different side of it. We also seen it with the like Glaive, all the creative shrimps. We had Captain Disillusion. We have Andrew Price also showing a family and stuff. That's super nice. It's good to see. Good to see other sides of the community. All right, so we are streaming this live as usual, so there must be a thread. Yes, thank you very much, Damian, for creating this thread where you can answer other questions or ask questions if you want an answer, and we're gonna try to answer it towards the end of the show. I do have a lot of things to show though, so we should just start right away with the. Let's start with grease pencil. Why not? Grease pencil. this feature is gonna change your workflow if you do like a lot of drawings and a lot of storyboarding, for example. So this feature allows you to trace not only just one image like it was possible now, you can also do it with a sequence, with a video. Just drop a video there, enable tweak, turn it on as the sequence mode. It's an option in the operator settings here. By default it's single, now a sequence, and now it will trace the image. Wait a little bit, it has to go through all the frames and perform the tracing, but now bam, it's animated. So you can just move it aside, and now you have a whole bunch of a grease pencil objects with frames in them, animated. Life made easier. So the jump now between going back and forth and like making the drawings in 2D, or the storyboard artist can make it in a completely different software that is maybe they're used to for 2D animation, and then export a video, drop it into Blender, convert, trace to image sequence. Bam, you have a grease pencil object that you can place in 3D space. So that's amazing. You can convert your 2D animatic into like just add Blender stuff, camera, objects, lighting in Eevee. The sky is the limit, or not, because now we also have sky textures, new sky textures. Okay, let's that was just to start. This is just one of the many features that the grease pencil team, Antonio Vazquez, has added. So let's go into the next one. Material rotation option for textures. So now you can rotate the textures in the dots and square type of strokes of material. So it's just a setting. It's you can see it here at the bottom. Oops, no, there. But what if I call my evil twin? On the side, you're gonna see it's just a rotation slider that you can tweak in degrees, how much you want to rotate in the entire material. However, this option to rotate the textures has also been added as a part of the texture modifier. So you can now do UV rotation in the texture modifier. So it's awesome. It's awesome because one is like in the material itself, but now you can also apply it here. I don't know if you get to see, but it's the texture modifier, texture material, and you can just rotate. Super neat. More flexibility, yay! And you can drive this thing also. It's a setting, so you can. Now you can do crazy. Yeah, you can rig this rotation. Oh, yeah. You can add bones, drivers. Yeah, can be part of your rigging. That is pretty powerful. So more settings that are powerful are the interpolation operators. So the interpolate operators, they were only available before in edit mode, and you have to, if you were drawing, you have to go to edit, then interpolate, and it will create the frames in between. That's no longer the case. Now you can also access these interpolate operators in draw mode, so you don't have to switch the mode all the time to interpolate. The option that is not available though, it's a selected strokes, which makes sense because there is no concept of selected strokes in draw mode. So it's more like it's gonna do the entire object, the entire grease pencil object. Let's see. Antonio, maybe Antonio is Pablo's evil twin. No, there is absolutely not a single hair of evil in Antonio. He's been working for years, like volunteer for Blender. All the grease pencil crazy things that you see and all the amazing features, he added them just because he cares. Isn't that? We need more Antonios in the world. Improved join operator. He also worked on improving it. Now it not only the join operator not only works with the start and the end strokes, but also it takes the points that are nearby. And I think there was a video. No, I remember seeing a video, but it's just better. Basically, it's just more how would you expect it, because it takes the stroke points that are nearby. Let's move. Okay, so because we have more sections, now I have to see which one, because there are also improvements in cycles. Performance is faster now. There is, of course, the Sculpt section is as amazing as always. But let's Grist Pencil was amazing. So let's go into the user interface side of things, which we're gonna start with another awesome improvement from the Summer of Code added by Nathan Craddock. That it was part of the Summer of Code. It was one of the features, but it wasn't added for 2.91 because it changes a little bit the muscle memory. So it's good to add it now that 2.92 is in alpha, so there is still a lot of time to improve. So the feature is awesome. It's undoubtedly awesome. It's properties editor sync on selection. What does it mean? It means that if you select the object, you select an object and select the light or camera, for example, you can when you click on the icon for objects on the object itself, you're gonna see that it goes into the object. Or actually, you don't see anything because it just is how it used to be. You know, it doesn't change the context. However, if you click on the icon over here, it will go into that mode. So you have the light settings, mesh settings, object settings, and this is how you can choose what to see. You click on the green part, which is the data, the object data, and it goes to the object data, and that's yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the change. This is particularly nice because it works also in modifiers. So if you click on a modifier, it's gonna take you to the modifier. This is one of my favorite features. You can jump, you're like, I want to see the material, cool. Maybe the mesh settings or the modifier is one in particular. This is awesome. Navigation. The one thing though that it breaks compatible, actually it breaks your memory, it breaks your muscle memory in a few ways. For example, before, if you had the cube in here in the mesh data settings, and then you select other meshes, it would always stick in this mode. So yeah, that is one thing that it's gonna break it because it's gonna switch into object properties. So still, I think it's an improvement because you gain all the other settings, and it's a byproduct of this new way of navigating your object data. Then the other mode is that, yeah, camera. In Blender up until now, if you add multiple cameras, when you select one, it will make it active and not change the object. And now it changes the no, it will change the object, but now it also takes you to the settings. So maybe that doesn't break a lot of memory. It's before you only used to make it active. So actually, I think it's a big gain in navigation. This especially the going. And what about constraints? Will it also work? Let's try. Let's add some modifiers, and let's add a object constraint. So let's say I'm in here in the render settings, and then I go into I want to see the fluids, and then bam, I'm taken to the fluids. Would be nice if also what happens if I close this? Does it open it? Oh my gosh, nice. So I have all the modifiers closed, and then I click in subdivision, and then bam, it opens the subdivision modifier. That's a nice detail. Nice. I didn't know this one. Constraints, let go, bam, constraints. The same with the clamp. Another improvement. Okay, I'm loving this feature now. Okay, never mind. Oh yeah, muscle memory, very small, but this is super awesome. Why he's not reading our comments? Somebody says I'm not reading the comments. I am reading the comments, but people are asking like if Houdini is free. I think that's what I see so far. And I think they have a version for learning, but it's definitely not free, or not definitely, it's not free, and definitely not open source. But I think they have a version for learning, the apprentice version, and but probably has its limitations, of course. Let's see. Next feature improvements. Oh, this one is for animators. Animators, the playback sync menu improvement. This is just a layout. Just a layout. Well, it's a big layout change that here in the synchronization panel. So when you go to playback, now this panel is better rearranged. It has like columns, and now it's split in sections, so you can see like audio, scrubbing or mute, or playback, and all the playback related features. The settings, they were not here. We can see some examples. AV sync is now called sync to audio. Cool. Then no sync, play every frame. No sync, that's weird. What is no sync? Actually, it means play every frame. This is more descriptive. Frame dropping stays the same, but audio is also, it wasn't only about the audio, it was to synchronize the playback of each one of them. So the I think it's a good improvement. Yes, it's gonna break all the books that were naming these features or these properties, but I think we all agree that no sync is not as clear as play every frame, for example. There's a number of changes in user interface that that are for the better, but yeah, they break some documentation. Alrighty, cool. Let's allow trackpad. This other feature by Yevgeny, allow trackpad control pan to cycle enum values. Yeah, trackpad. So I don't have a trackpad here with me, but I don't know if you knew that if you do control and scroll in this enum or the drop-down menus, you change the settings. Super nice. It's I use it all the time. In the color dropper, though, it's a different effect. It will affect the value of it. So if you have saturation and you change the value, you're gonna see that it gets either darker or brighter. And yeah, there's this bug. Well, it's not, I don't know if it's a bug, but yeah, maybe it is a bug that if you reach black and then you go up, it removes the saturation. That bug, I use it as a feature sometimes, as a quick way of going. Like if I want to go to white from here, I just scroll all the way down and then scroll up. Bam. Yeah, maybe it should be fixed, just so you don't preserve the color. What else? Let's see. I'm gonna have some tea because my voice is going lower and lower. You know what's also going lower? Nice segue to this user interface improvement. This is a very tiny fix, but it's one of those cosmetic changes. I always say that the cosmetic changes here are what make Blender feel polished, and Yevgeny is a master in that. He really is the master of, or he and Harley, of fixing 1 pixel differences in stuff. For example, this one, the popover was like cropping here a few pixels. All the arrow was cropped. Not anymore. Now it's here. Now it's properly seen. Such a small detail. If you're not interested in this, let me know, but I like to share these kind of things. Yeah, it's not as big as it's a massive big feature, but to me this is important because it makes a difference. This one, checkbox with calculation. So calculating the width of the checkbox wasn't taking into account the line thickness, the thickness of the lines, and now it does. So if you make the line thicker, the outline of this checkbox is gonna get thicker. So small little improvements that make Blender more polished. This one also, the alignment of the text, it was a bit all over the place. It wasn't consistent. So now this has been fixed, and actually if you look now, the text and the labels now properly align. There are some examples where you can see You see, this was before, this is after. Nothing. 1 pixel, few pixels. Here, for example, this is before, this is after. Now, I don't know if you notice that the line of the text aligns with the labels. Again, small details, and here there is a whole thread about it, like how the text here, the title of the panels inside of the popover was misaligned. Now, not anymore. Now it's aligned. It's just a little fixes that once you use Blender and you see that every day, it's like it's in the back of your head, like hey, this looks a bit more organized. Okay, let's go into more functional improvements. The save as behavior. When you save or when you are saving the file without saving text or images, it wasn't getting the same treatment. Now it is. Now it's gonna tell you, hey, save as images, text file. If the file is not writable, we'll report. If the file is new, it's gonna save as. If it was deleted, it will try to make it again. So again, consistency. Then another more practical improvement by Yevgeny as well. You've been on fire lately, or maybe these are patches that were added before. The color grid. The color grid got improvements. So I don't know if you can tell the difference, but the text changed. And it's more, yeah, not only more readable, but also uses the capital letter. It uses only a range of capital letters and numbers to have a nice A2, B, and 4A. This is something that, again, if you're doing texturing, super neat, and a bunch of label changes that I think I should start switching into the next section. But just a heads up that some of the labels haven't improved and have changed. Again, some tutorials you're gonna notice that instead of full screen it says maximize area, which is an improvement. Statistics verts in the armatures, it was showing vertices. Like, why? It's actually joints, the number of joints for armature, and a whole bunch of little tweaks in text that make it more consistent. All right, let's go into modeling. Modeling slash modifiers slash lattices work. I actually did a patch on lattices, but I don't have it. I'm gonna show you next week. Apply modifiers now works for lattices. I wasn't even aware of this issue, this limitation, but Eric found it, Eric Abrahamson, and he went and fixes it. What does it mean? It means that now you can apply modifiers on lattices. So you know the lattice object, it's amazing, it's underrated. It's a modifier that yeah, you add it as a modifier, but it's an object that can have some modifiers that allows you to transform or deform the geometry underneath. And the modifiers here, for example, if you want to change the shape, or if you want to apply you can apply lattices to other lattices. Nice. Okay, but for example, if you have a wave modifier, does it that's amazing. So okay, so a wave modifier, now you can actually apply it on the lattice. You can go here and use the shortcut or do apply, and it's actually gonna apply it. Before it will just complain, it will just say like, hey, you can't do this on lattices yet, sorry. And now it doesn't say that, now it just works. So thank you, Eric, for looking into it. It's gonna change the workflow for a lot of people, because yeah, applying modifiers is so important. It's like baking it. All right, these improvements have also translated to another modifier. This is actually a removal, but it's for the greater good. Remove simple subdivision type from the multi-res modifier. It has been removed because basically there are more efficient ways of doing it now, and also because the subdivision surface modifier, subsurf modifier, is also gonna get, in the long term, is gonna get this option removed, the simple subdivision type. This is not it's not just going away, but there are better ways of doing it. Basically, you use the sharp, the infinite sharp. You set the edges as infinitely sharp, so it's the same as doing a simple subdivision type, but it's more flexible because you can have some parts as simple and some parts as regular subdivision types. This is also gonna be more efficient B-mesh base modifier when it's done on the subsurf one. All right, let's move on. What do we do first, sculpting or cycles? Let's do both at the same time, simultaneously. Cycles. Oh, sorry, Diogo in the chat was saying that Sculpt, Eevee. No, there's nothing on Eevee, I think, on this week, unfortunately. Thanks for the dreams come true, for the nice comments. All right, let's go into some improvements in performance. This one was actually committed on Saturday, so I didn't get the chance to see to read exactly what it is besides the title, which is implement tile stealing to improve CPU GPU rendering performance. What I mean by the name, I guess it's stealing the tile from when you're rendering one, it takes from the other if it's too slow. Let's read it. While Cycles already supports using both CPU and GPU at the same time, there currently is a large problem with it. Since the GPU grabs one tile per thread, at the end of the render the GPU runs out of work, but the CPU still needs quite some time to finish current times. Yes, I've been there. Having smaller tiles helps somewhat, but especially OpenCL rendering tends to lose performance with smaller tiles. Therefore, these commits add support for tile stealing. When a GPU device runs out of new tiles, it can tell the CPU to release some of the ones he's working on or he's saving for itself. This way, at the end of the render, the GPU quickly finishes the remaining tiles instead of waiting for to wait for the CPU. This is awesome. This is super nice. Gonna save so much time. And it's even sponsored by AMD. Thank you, AMD. Awesome. Wow, yeah. Did you see it? You don't have to press anything, it's just automatic. GPU, finish render, CPU still doing the slow tiles. Well, now the GPU is gonna ask, hey CPU, give me some work, I am not doing anything, and it's just gonna send it tiles, bam, render faster, basically. Render faster. Cool, thank you AMD. And Lucas Stockner for working on it. Improvements in performance are always welcome. Oh, this is not implemented yet as far as I know, but it's being worked on. Just to give a a nice message out there. Wow, this patch is from 2016. Well, it's being added in parts. There are many little patches that were added, but basically adds support for custom object properties as usable attributes. So nice to see this one finally making it. It's not there yet as far as I read, but there are many patches that are related to that. So basically you can access custom object props in shading nodes. Let's see. Cycles, support rendering when Cycles device is not found. This is just a little heads up. If you're running Blender on a render farm, for example, now the render is going to stop if it can't find a Cycles device. In the past, it would just fall back to CPU, which, yes, you could say smarter, because if you can't find anything, just use the CPU, but also can lead to issues. It can lead to maybe you send it to a farm and it's gonna take forever because you expected to use GPU, but it can't find it, so it uses CPU. So yeah, it's a change. So just a heads up if you're working on a render farm or if you use a render farm. Okay, let's go into the Sculpt section. All right, let's see. This feature, actually, I forgot to mention it last week, but it's an improvement as feature added to the Sculpt brush grab. So when you grab, you usually grab the whole, especially if you are working on a thin mesh, you would grab the entire object. So you see, so you grab, and maybe you don't want that. Maybe you just want like on one side, grab from one side, or grab from the other. So now you can turn on the grab silhouette option, and it's gonna just pull the side of it. I don't know how it does this magic, but it works great for making the silhouette, for actually changing how the outline of your object is looking without changing the both sides of the shape. Especially useful with these thinner objects. Another improvement to the already existing lasso trim tool is that now it will use the normal orientation. That means awesome stuff, like it's gonna take the direction that you first click on, and it's gonna cut in a more predictable way, so you can make holes. You see, I don't know if you see, but it's doing it in the direction that the normals, where the normals are pointing at the beginning of when you started clicking. This is awesome. Super nice. It's more also how you would expect it, so I don't think it should even be a feature, like a feature as in a setting. It just works. That's what you would expect. Use the normal direction of the normals when cutting. Another great one by Pablo Navarro. And another of the pile of things that I like about Pablo Navarro's work is his focus on the user interface, such as when he added the preview for the remeshing, for the voxel remesher that you see like a grid and then it scales. Well, he added the same concept but to the Intopo brushes. So when you're doing Intopo, instead of having a grid like a square, now you see you have a triangle. Super useful. So with the triangle, you're gonna see a preview of the size of the Intopo subdivision that you have. So you see, the Intopo's not dead. Super good. All right. More improvements in usability. This one is the pie menu for global auto masking options. So now you have you can use the Alt-A shortcut to change the to mask out, and then it's gonna show you options in a pie menu. Should I show how it is? Wow, no, it's okay, Alt-A, and then you have this, so you can do masking in the mesh boundary, face sets, topology, or face sets boundary. So you can do neat. It just says yeah, there are checkboxes. Oh, we don't have checkboxes for anything else in vanilla Blender. Okay, we shouldn't let's not say it out loud in case it breaks some of the philosophy, but I find them useful. You know what else is useful is that when you're painting in Blender, in the in solid mode, you have the solid lights option to use. However, if you want to be able to see the colors of what you're painting, but get a little hint of the volume of the mesh without actually changing the colors of what you're painting, Pablo made this new studio light, which is pretty much white, pure white, with a little hint of volume, so you can not end up like this, where you have no nothing at all. You can change the setting, of course. This is it's a solid light. In you can turn it just like flat coloring, just to see the pure 100% real color that you're painting, or a little bit of volume. It's always nice. That is all for the Sculpt setting. Sculpt section. Animazione. Animation has an improvement in the graph editor. Actually, the graph editor, Sebastian Parborg made this feature to unbake F-curves. Unbaking. What is it? Well, you know, baking, when you get a curve that has like modifiers, or you made a bunch of things on your curve and you want to bake it, you want to store the position of every point. Well, That was a one-way ticket. You could only do the baking once, and then bam, you're left with all these vertices there, these points there. Now you can unbake. So yeah, the commit says we already had the ability to bake F curves, but no way to convert back the result without using Python. This patch adds an operator that is available now next to the bake operator in the drop-down menu. Isn't it nice? Is it an image? No, but I bet it looks awesome. All right, let's see. Let's continue. So, fluids. There are improvements in fluids, and this one I'm not even gonna go into the commit log. I'm gonna show you the wiki page with actual videos and stuff. So, Blender 292. Yes, we are there. Physics. Okay, hold on to your papers, like the 2-minute paper guy says. Well, not paper, hold on to your fluids. Ew, no, hold on to your hats. Epic simulation method. This is a new type of simulation method next to flip. Flip is one of the currently available ones. So let's see the difference. So I'm getting a phone call. Who calls nowadays? Probably something important. All right, let's switch into my evil twin. This is flip fluids. It's nice, splashy. It's very splashy. However, the new mode is supposed to be. Let's see if I can fit both in the same. Yeah, I actually can. So okay, let's give it play to both of them just to see the difference, because it's very subtle, but it's the developer Sebastian mentions that it's more stable and also less splashy. So you can see here how much more splashy the flip fluid is. Maybe tweaking the settings it could behave like this, but this is, you can see it feels a bit more stable also. This looks more like paint. This is it real time? No, I wish, but it's a new method. It's called Epic. So up until now, the flip method was used to create very splashy scenes with lots of particles dispersed in the air. For simulations on a smaller scale, this behavior was not always desirable. In these cases, and for simulations where achieving a more stable look is important, Epic can be used. So when you want a more stable look or a smaller scale simulations. In general, users will know that Epic preserves vortices better than Flip while remaining less noisy at the same time. Except for Flip specific properties, all existing liquid simulation settings can be used for Epic too. That's super nice. Out of nowhere. Well, where was it even? Okay, there's a new method for physics. Yay. Let's continue. That was the only thing I had to show about fluids. But you know it's another section which we don't talk a lot here? Tracking. More like object tracking, camera tracking. There is an improvement here by Sergey Sharevin, our doctor in the Blender studio, that gives you more flexibility. So the commit says decouple refine settings, which means that historically the refine options had a hard-coded list of possibilities. Hard-coded means that in the code, in Blender's code, the numbers were set by hand. It's like, okay, this is how it should be, and the developers say, okay, these are the settings. However, you can't really change that unless you compile your own Blender. It's not exposed in the interface. Now it is. This was caused by an old bundle adjustment code which did not support all the possible combinations. But now, the bundle adjuster is based on Ceres solver, allowing to refine anything in any combination. So yeah, you're gonna get more settings exposed, like intrinsics, focal length, principal point, K1, K2, Key1, Key2. So yeah, before they were defined, and not anymore. Now you can do anything with those. Super nice. Another improvement in tracking is related to this, to the intrinsics. Simplify the configuration of intrinsics to refine. previously, only predefined and limited sets of intrinsic combinations could have been refined. It was caused by the boundary adjustment library used in the early days. Now it is possible to fully customize which intrinsics are going to be refined during the camera solving. Internally, Solver supports per parameter settings, but the interface they are grouped as following: focal length, optical center, and radial distortion coefficients, tangential distortion coefficients, and a whole lot of things that I don't know. But it's the same that I was showing before. It's just 2 commits. Simulation. This is more of a heads up that if you're using Blender 2.92 alpha, you're gonna see that the simulation nodes has been removed. That's because they are being replaced with the geometry nodes. We mentioned a little bit about it last week, and there will be more news coming up this week. It's the backsprint fixing week by the developer, so they're gonna be focused on just fixing Blender. No new features should come out, hopefully, but we are gonna get more news about geometry nodes. But maybe I can leave those news for next week, since we're supposedly not gonna have too many new features because this week is back fixing. So let's save them for next week. Just a heads up. But just to give you a little bit of a hint of a Blendini, like she's calling it here in the chat. Somebody from the community, Leo Depois, added a subsurf node. So you can this is just a little hint of what's to come. That you get a geometry in, geometry out. You add a subsurf node, and you get the levels to choose, and you get subsurf. Yeah, some settings, and that's a node. Modifier nodes. It's a thing, and it's coming to you 2020 2.90. No, because 2.92 is gonna be next year. When exactly? Developer.Blender.org. 292 is gonna be out on February next year. But hey, if you're watching this, you probably use the Blender daily builds, so it's gonna be closer for you, very close. All right, I have like 10 minutes left for questions. Should I go into the potpourri section? Yes, okay, let's get into or just answer questions. Let's go to the question, and let's say this for next week, because next week I'm gonna be short on features anyway. So I'm marking this. Okay, next week. I put a note that I should talk about this feature. It was a potpourri section. It wasn't nothing in particular. All right, next week we can do a geometry node special if you want. Why not? Let's go into Blender.community, the website for the Blender community. All right, let's see. BCON Blues, 18 questions. The first one by Tons Fun, that's super nice. Got 3 likes, and they're sorted by likes, by hearts. So I'm reading them first, and then I'm gonna jump into the bottom, because that's where the more recent with the first questions were written. All right, Tons Fans says, hello Pablo, lots of love to you and your team. Thank you. Lots of love to you too. Just wanted to ask you if you have ever pressed X by mistake for deleting normal PC files while not using Blender, lol. I have, not my files, but in other softwares I press X all the time, and I miss it a lot. Yeah, I do it all the time. Other things that I used to use the W menu a lot, the specials menu. Now it's selection, which I never use. I think it's nearly a waste of a key to have W, like just for this, just for selection, because yeah, it's also it had too many options, like 4 options here to cycle through. So I never use W, and I want it back. I should make my own. That's a problem because I use Blender personally, but also I use Blender for explaining it in here in live. I have to use the default Blender. Yeah, so I have it by default, and I have to use what the developers agree on. The next question, Echo X Bow says, "Hey Pablo, why is the Nishida texture not there for Eevee? Is there a technical reason for it?" I think there is a technical reason. It's more, I don't know the technical details, but I think it's more, yeah, you need some kind of ray tracing that is not available in Eevee. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, and I'm not sure exactly. However, there must be some kind of limitation because the Nishida sky texture, the Eevee support for the other types of sky textures are they were added. The support for it was added after Nishida. So if the developer didn't add this one, is because yeah, they're pretty different. All right, I'm gonna jump into the oh, now there are more votes. I'm gonna do the first one, so to be fair. Create it. Hey Pablo, is there a reason why modifiers can be dragged left and right? I think it would feel much tighter and more accurate if you could only drag them up and down and reorder. What do you think? I totally agree. The reason why modifiers can be dragged left and right is because modifiers, well, basically, it's because of legacy. It's because these also can be dragged left to right. And because modifiers are now panels. Panels can be dragged left to right, and the reason why they can be dragged left to right is because until a few versions ago it was possible to use Blender in a horizontal layout, just like in Blender 2.49. If you remember, the interface used to be horizontal, so yeah, you had these panels, and also you could put two panels in one. That was fun. So yeah, in since Blender 2.30 there are these panels. Before in Blender 2.28, because there was no 2.29, in 2.28 the buttons were like boom, blank into the UI. You couldn't move them. And then in 2.30 we got the panels, and then in 2.49 was the last time we had a horizontal by default. In 2.5, in 2010, 10 years ago, in 2.5, the vertical layout was encouraged, and the yeah, that's it. That's the answer. Legacy, and I think they're gonna be removed at some point. They're gonna be limited. If anybody in the community is watching this and maybe wants to give it a try, maybe it's just by either cleaning up that code, or maybe it's something fun to get used to it. If you're a developer that wants to get involved and learn a bit more of that area, maybe it's something that could be fun to check out. Remove the support for left and right, or not remove it, but at least limit it for now for panels. The next question. Hi Pablo. Elsh says, "Thanks for the show. I hope you're still doing fine in Amsterdam." I'm doing great, thank you. I really like the latest additions to the modifiers, especially the Boolean modifier. Since my current hardware is a little older, sometimes modifier calculations take several minutes. Do you know of a way to apply the modifiers without running all these calculations again? Something like dump the mesh that has already been calculated. To apply the modifiers without running all these calculations again. I'm not sure I know what you mean. You can apply modifiers without running all... No, you have to calculate it. Yeah, they need to be calculated for applying, but they get calculated on every frame, so it's the same. I'm not sure I follow something like dump the mesh that has already been created. That's like baking, like exporting to no, yeah, you do have to calculate it. I don't think there's a way around it. The next question by Lucas Rodrigo. Hey Pablo, I saw that the new thing in 2.92 where the GPU takes tiles from CPU when it is free. How far can this go? For example, 32 big gigabyte images. The GPU will take bits of it when it has free time. It will be when it's a feature that we saw before, and that is when or maybe the question is already answered in the live stream, is that when the GPU is finished rendering all the tiles assigned to it, and the CPU is still rendering because maybe you have, I don't know, 16 cores, so there are 16 tiles running at the same time. If the GPU is finished, it's going to take some of those. Let's see. Cameron animation. Hey Pablo, do we get multi-object properties edit in properties? You can already do that by holding Alt. I think I explained this many times. But yeah, you can edit multiple object properties. So if I have this object, a cube, or many objects, and then if I just press the location X here, for example, I'm not gonna make a difference. But if you hold Alt, the Alt key, and then press it, it's gonna affect multiple objects. But yeah, you have to press Alt first, and there is a reason for that. It's for consistency, because this feature is not available for like this Alt holding and changing. It's not available everywhere yet. It's in most cases. Oops. But it's oh, I closed the Blender today. It's in most places, but it's not everywhere. So it's hard to make something work by default if it's only gonna work in a few cases. It's not consistent. So yeah, that's a problem. And that's why it's not done, not on by default. But you can press Alt and do it. All right, so Lucas Rodrigo, another question. If you talk about it in the live, what are the plans for texture painting? Thanks. The plan so far, first of all, is that is maybe related to texture painting, but not directly, is the brush management. Brushes and tools and brushes. This system is a bit all over the place at the moment in Blender, and there are several proposals on how to improve it. This would affect sculpting, grease pencil, texture painting, weight painting, vertex color painting, all the areas in Blender. So that is the main goal first, and then go into more details for texture painting itself. But I think it's very important to focus first on the brush management in general before adding tools and more features in this system. Renato Kangemi. Hello Pablo, can we expect some news about key mesh on Blender 292? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think it's planned, but yeah, sometimes somebody from the community just picks it up. So I couldn't tell. I would say no, but I couldn't tell right now. We are in BCON 1, which means we're many months away, or one. Wait, let's see. Let's talk with actual dates. Blender 292. There is room for new fixes, for new features until November 25. So we still have like more than 20 days for new features. So yeah, and even then there are some features get through even a bit later. So maybe it is possible that we're gonna see that happening. The next question by Voron Mchik. Hey there. Can we expect the floating windows feature to be implemented in Blender someday? And I have some thoughts on UV editor. Fix the naming live UV unwrap. That the UV editor allows you to have live unwrap based on pinned UVs, and live to unwrap in 3D view allow you to unwrap just a model. Add an option to select UV seams. It would be very useful, and in my opinion we can change the mesh properties labs. Okay, these are like multiple questions in one. So I guess floating windows, there are ways of doing it at the moment. If you do, I think it's called shift click, and then you have a floating window. Basically, it's not an official floating window, I guess, as in Blender built in. This is gonna look different in every operating system. On Linux, you can just right click and then mark it as always on top, which is pretty handy if you like. I personally hate this stuff, but some people do like it, to have that. But I don't know if this is available on only on Windows or a Mac. But there are efforts on working on this, but the team, I think, is focused on something else right now. And then all the UV editor, yes, we need a live unwrap in the 3D viewport. Yes, that I agree. Select UV seams. Can't you do that already? Like select similar. So if I mark seam and then I select by trait, no, or select similar, no, or is it, no, I thought there was, like you can select similar and like with Shift G, and yeah, you can. You have a seam and then you just select, you click on one seam and then Shift G, select similar seam. So there was, it's this could be just here. Select by, I wish now we had, oh here, select similar seam. Yeah, but it should be just not similar. Why would you need first to select the seam and then select similar? It should just be, just select seam. So yeah, let's continue. Carsten says, hey, when do we get print and error messages in the Python console or a dedicated window? A full DOS box in Windows sucks, and also on Linux shell Windows feels a bit weird instead having all in Blender. We talked about this in the past multiple times, and what people say, what I think what Carsten is saying here is that there's a lot of important information that happens when you are in Blender, that some of that information, some is just simple, like controls. If you copy objects, you get here notification that has been copied. Okay, some of this information, it gets logged in the info editor. So if you go to info, it does, it gets here. However, not all the important information is here. When you're rendering in the terminal, you get more information. This is the terminal information, and you get a lot of important information here. The thing is, if this information was only available in Blender, it can fail, because when you're rendering, when you're doing something heavy, like like rendering using all the resources, then to update the interface, then what if you want to know which frame you are and the interface is not responsive, or something happened here and it's not responsive? Then what do you do? Having an external terminal is super handy for that. You can also add more information. You can see, oh, there is an arrow that is registering the drivers, or the preferences have been loaded, or here's an information about what changed. Copy the objects. Sometimes you even get more important information here in the terminal. If the whole interface is drawn via Python, the layout is pretty much all of it, or most of it is via Python. So if you get a Python error here, or the interface, like a button was wrong or an add-on was badly coded and it broke your UI, you need something else, because Blender UI is going to be unreadable because Python, you throw an error and maybe, yeah, the interface is not loading. So you need this. You need this. Yeah, maybe it shouldn't be completely needed 100%, but it's important to have it. It's just that people are not used to it. I prefer it. When you render background like from the terminal, it's also much faster. I mean, you get more information here. So yeah. How do we get to this terminal? It is in Windows too. Yes, it is on Windows, but I think on Windows you have to go to Window menu, and there should be an option over here. Okay, I'm already 10 minutes past, so let's do 5 more questions and call it a day. Let's see. So okay, Roger Menzi Trace say, hey Pablo, what do you think about this? A new color ramp. Oh, that sounds fun. Control the color ramp out of the group. Oh yes, yeah. I have a dream. A new color ramp. Okay, let's see how. Okay, this is a nice big mock-up. So the old one, it's very simple, and the new one, it's very interesting. So you have each point in each one of these. So each point you add, it adds a new input and output. Yes, I like that because then you can control, and then you get an output. Yes, this looks nice. It's like steps, and then you can connect that to the output of a node group. So that is super powerful. So this is with 2 colors, and this is with 3 colors. There should be a way to make it a bit more compact, maybe. This is very visual. I like it. Then you have the options. The position can you also be controlled here. Color Z, right. Yeah, the left and right maybe shouldn't. I wouldn't use directions, but yeah, numbering. Yeah, I like this idea. There, Everything Nodes project should take notes on this for sure. And for the Everything Nodes project, pretty much every node is gonna be moved into a new system. So maybe it's a good opportunity to do this. The Geometry Nodes project, there has been a commit recently where there is like a how do you call it, boilerplate, like a starting point where you can, if you're a developer and you want to make new nodes and contribute like moving all the nodes to the new system, you can go and check it out. You can also check out the Geometry Nodes channel on Blender Chat. Yeah, this is super important, and I hope we can, yeah, we can have something like this soon. Here's my upvote. Okay, so Daniela Palm, that was question number 4. This is a bit embarrassing, but I never use a proxy system. Hey, nothing to be embarrassed about. It's very specific, mainly for character animation or for linking. So okay, not entirely sure what it is, to be honest. I know with overrides we can link something, then overriding, which sounds superior anyways. But if you have time, could you explain the difference between the old way and the new way? Also, if you have time, available resources, could you show how to link an animated rig with the character? If you link a rig, it only brings the rig. It is the correct way. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna have the time right now. You can find tutorials online. The proxy system hasn't changed since 2006. So any tutorial that you find about linking characters in that it's based on Blender 2.42 until now is gonna be relevant. So basically what you do is when you work on proxies, you don't link the rig, you link the group in the old Blender or the collection in the new Blender. So you link a collection and you end up with an empty that duplicates the collection. So you can't edit it, you can't do anything to this object. It's an instance. The proxy system, what allows you is to select this object, the collection that you can't even access, make a proxy, and you can access the objects inside. Then you choose which object. In this case, is the rigging, the most popular case. Why would you do that? Because if you have the rig local, so it's made local, which is not really local, it's a proxy. It's very special in this case because it allows you to enter pose mode of an armature. That's a powerful thing. You can't enter edit mode. You can't do anything else than entering pose mode, but that allows you to add corpse animation keyframes that will give you a whole lot of flexibility. You can animate characters while all the data is still in the separate object somewhere else. So yeah, find tutorials. It's really not hasn't changed much. The new override system allows you to instead make all the objects local but keep the data linked, so you have a lot more access to anything in the objects or the materials or anything. That's why it's more powerful, because it allows you to make certain parts linked, but keeping a reference to that object, even though you override certain settings. Super handy. We should make a video about that. Actually, in the cloud there must be like a Blender proxy animation. There must be. Well, you know what to find. I learned animating with proxy objects. Yeah, it hasn't really changed much. Become a pro in animation. Okay, here, CG Geek. He's cool. Maybe that tutorial. All right, let's continue. That was question number 3. Okay, 4. Number 3, cookie to me. Hi Pablo, have you seen the new AMD cards? They are awesome, especially for Linux users. Anyway, my question is, now that AMD is a Patreon fund, are they going to support their version of RTX hardware acceleration in Blender like Nvidia did? I don't have any news on that. I wish I could have one of the developers to answer. I could ask them, because the RTX support for Nvidia was actually implemented by Nvidia. So Nvidia not only contributes with like financially to the Blender Development Fund, but they also have their own developers contributing the support for the graphic cards. So yeah, because they have access to, they know how the graphics card works, so it's a lot more easier and accessible. But yeah, no, however, I don't know if they have support. I hope they do, and yeah, especially for Linux user, because the drivers for Linux on AMD, they are super good and much more reliable than others, especially the open source ones. All right, Jameson number 2 is, do you think that you will ever add the game engine back? It was really sad when it was removed. I was also very sad when it was removed. The problem is that the game engine as a game engine was not that yeah, it was very left behind. There was the options outside of Blender are much bigger, much better. Blender itself, the game engine, was okay for certain things, but it wasn't a real game engine, and that has like network support, multiplayer, a proper level of detail system, a UI editor, and exporting to consoles, to PlayStation, to the browser. It wasn't there. There was just so much work to be done. Back in the days it worked, but now there are way more better options. You have Godot engine, you have Unreal, which is also free, it's open source. You have options out there. So the game engine side that I miss is the interaction, is the being able to control your scene, to walk around in a more like interactive way, like move things around, press buttons. That area, I believe, is gonna be back in Blender eventually. The plan is to have an interactive mode where instead of having a frame-based playback, so you know, like frame 1, 2, 3, it's just time-based. So it's just you're always playing, and then you can do things. You can enable physics in an object or interact with an object, and maybe even bake those changes, but more focus on the real-time side of things. That I think is gonna be implemented eventually in Blender, because it's, yeah, we have Eevee real time. Why not just adding interaction? And also you could even, I don't know, you could map keyboard events or mouse events to do things in your scene. That would be much more fun. And Blender is about fun, so yes, I see it in the horizon. But yeah, maybe fire. T-Boy asks, in the last question, any news on Eevee's functionality regarding equirectangular support? I know of this thread, but I don't know what normal priority means as far as the roadmap is concerned. And yeah, it was added as a task just to keep track of where things are, but yeah, it's normal priority means that it's there, it's gonna be worked on eventually, but there's no one assigned to it at the moment. You see, there's no one assigned to it. I hope this is something that maybe the community can pick up, or maybe it's gonna be easier once Vulkan is there. Most of the features in Eevee-wise, they are waiting for the change from OpenGL to Vulkan, like baking and better features. I think we need to do that jump first, and then focus on the features. However, if someone from the community will just jump in and say, hey, I want to implement this, or even better, just implement it and then contribute a patch, I don't see any issue why this wouldn't be added. It's just priorities and the lack of available developers to work on Eevee at the moment. All right, this is way past time. It's 6:20 p.m. I'm gonna be doing the Blender Hoy live stream in Spanish in a moment. So this will be, I should just start wrapping it up. If you speak Spanish, Español, I'm gonna be there. So okay, see you, everybody. What a show! What a roller coaster of emotion we had. We talked about the Blender conference, then we talked about the new features in the user interface, cycles was faster, Sculpt improvements, even a new fluid simulation method for MantaFlow. Isn't that great? I hope I got to answer most of the questions. Sorry for those that I didn't get to answer, but we're gonna be doing this again next week at the same place and at the same time. So without further ado, let's live with the style. 5, 4, 3, 2. I could just stay here listening to this. Alright, thank you. See you next week, same place and time. For BlenderToday. Bye.